We're live. All right, folks. Allergic to silverware live. Hey, we had a few technical difficulties there, so you might have seen us there. We were on YouTube for a couple of minutes, but I didn't post to Facebook. But we're live now, so hopefully there'll be no technical glitches for the next hour or so. So thanks again for joining us for another episode of Allergic to Silverware Live, joined as always by my co-host and better-looking partner, Keith Cowan. So obviously we're gonna a lot to discuss, Chief. A lot to discuss, but we'll jump in, I suppose, straight into the match on Friday night. Harps defeated 1-0 by Drogheda. Disappointing result, and I suppose the manner, losing the game's never nice, but losing it with literally the last kick of the game certainly won't make that long trip to Waterford easy for the lads tomorrow. Really difficult. What was your thoughts on the game, Cowan? What did you think about it? We'll obviously look at some of the contentious decisions from the match. We've got the footage here, so we'll show them in a few minutes. But what was your overall view of the game?
Yeah, fairly even game, I suppose. Started well, like we have been doing. It's obviously always important to get a good start. I think Drogheda would have been coming up the road, I suppose, with plenty of confidence after the game down there. I think maybe they thought they should have maybe edged it, especially after their second half display, especially the run of form they've been on too. Beating Pats as well,
yeah.
Massive result for them. We saw Dave Massey scoring a free kick last week, so no doubt that would have definitely been talked about. With the way Ollie does his homework. Massey, he has it in the locker. Unfortunately, we've seen it again this week. Maybe over his career, or definitely at Dundalk, he wouldn't have got too many opportunities to hit them, maybe because of the lads that would have been up in front. The lads that might have been ahead of him on the list, which is fair enough. But look, it was a great strike, and it was a goal, I suppose. A goal that could have won any game, and unfortunately, to Harps' detriment, that was the way of it.
Yeah, no, it was definitely an absolute sucker punch. But as you say, it was a real moment of quality, and sometimes that's what decides a game, a very close game. It's a set piece, and it's a great bit of skill. But we'll actually look at the incident of the foul first of all. There's been a lot of debate about whether or not, obviously Webster got a second yellow and he was sent off for it. Some people are suggesting it was clever play from Chris Healy from behind the goal. I think we'll see it in a bit. What was your overall opinion? I know you're a centre half. You'll probably be in Team Webster's camp, but was it a foul? Do you think he was hard done by, or do you think it was a foul he had to give away?
Well, look, it's one of those ones. Knowing Chris Lyons and I've played against him, he's that type of player that he invites the contact, and he has no problem hitting the floor. He's done that loads. Again, that would have been talked about. That Harps would have, Ollie would have had the homework done, and he would have been spoken about Lyons, and who's had a great start to the season. So his confidence is through the roof, in terms of the goals that he scored as well. Yeah. So, it's one of those ones where, you can see Webster, what he's trying to do. He's trying to get his body in between, Lyons and the ball, and, hopefully Mark Anthony comes out and gets it. But once he gets that contact, Lyons is an intelligent footballer. He's kind of hooking in, and he's pulling him to the ground, I think.
So you're saying there's not a lot of contact in it, but any contact, Lyons is always going to go down. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, that's the type of way he plays.
100%. That's the way that he plays. And I think a lot of times you can see there where he's sort of hooking his arm. Like Webster's leaned in, and he has leaned in, but you're allowed to do that. But then hooking on the arm and then falling to the ground. That's a technique that we've seen strikers employ quite a lot. It's been highlighted. It's actually, if we look at more recently, Ramos did against, I know it was kind of role reversal. Ramos did the Salah that time, in the Champions League when he kind of put his arm across and he's felt the contact and he's brought him to the ground. It seems to be one of those. Unfortunately, Derek Toomey's bought it. And
he's a centre half though, Cowan. Are you raging that he hasn't been fouled further out the pitch? Because there's a few lads, what we were obviously commenting on it on Friday night, and Shane Ward and a few different lads were saying should have been fouled on the halfway line, take the free there rather than wait to get that deep. What do you reckon? Would you agree with that as a centre half? You would have been screaming at your midfielders to say, foul him higher up the pitch.
Brown, you're talking about?
Aye.
Yeah, I think so. But I think, Brown has showed, unbelievable pace this season. He's a player I didn't really know too much about. But watch him even in the early games, he's a big threat carrying the ball forward, and especially so late in the game. Yeah, you know it's easy in hindsight saying, look, foul him higher up, take your booking, that type of way. I think Ethan Boyd's made it a genuine opportunity to try and play the ball there. It's got kind of cut. He's almost won it. It's caught under his feet. Brown's kind of got the rub of the green there, and he's ended up skipping through and putting a very good ball, a dangerous ball through. But I think Lyons sees that. If we can maybe watch it one more time, Lyons sees he's not getting to the ball. That ball's far too far ahead for him, so he's looking for contact.
Lyons is never actually getting there. You're right.
Yeah, he gets the contact and he's thinking straight down for me here. I think if we watch it through here now, yeah, you think Barry there, Ethan could have done better, but the ball's far too far ahead. He's not getting there, so he just throws himself to the ground. And I think it's just, it's for me, he's not my favourite referee. I don't know if I have a favourite referee, but he's definitely not it. He
stitched us up against Drogheda before in the FAI Cup quarter-final as well when he sent Kieran Call off after an hour.
That's true. Yeah.
He's very card happy. He loves flashing the cards. To be fair, I felt the Dundalk lad, they got sent off as well. It's a bit harsh. I don't know if it was a straight red, so I don't know. Yeah,
I suppose then for a referee, sometimes you think, once he produces one red card, it almost gives him a license to do it again. I thought there was, I just thought that players need to be, or referees need to be wise to that there. Sometimes you feel that the striker always gets the benefit of the doubt. I suppose we look at maybe the incident just slightly before that, where Ollie, he sort of looks for the contact. You see him, stepping across. He does exactly what he
does what Lyons does a wee bit, doesn't he? He kind of hooks on.
So he looks for the contact. He leans across, kind of get him out of the way, and you can almost see Brown kind of brings him down, but it's a different outcome.
So do you think Tunde should get a penalty as well? So are you saying if he gives it to Lyons, exact same scenario, but is it because it's in the box he doesn't give it? If it's outside the box, does he give it, do you think?
I think it's because Olabi's a big lad and Brown's a lot smaller. And it's something that I saw over the years as well. Generally the bigger lad doesn't seem to it would take something massive to bring you down. It's you're almost 10 foot and you know what I mean? Where you shouldn't really be going down with that type of contact or whatever, whatever the case may be.
He's big and strong enough to be able to stay on his feet, whereas Lyons is a bit more slight and that's so he gets contact, goes down, it must be free. Just in relation to the free kick, we talked about it was a real bit of quality from Dane Massey, but you feel that maybe some of the lads in the Harps wall could have done a wee bit better. We'll get it up here now.
Look, we're going to be super critical, and look, obviously we have we got all the views, we got, we can slow it down and stuff. I see Shane McGuinness at the edge of the wall. For me, he needs to take it in the face. He needs to be brave. He needs to jump and take that ball in the face. He jumps, yes, but then he does the old kind of turtleneck where he kind of brings the head down and almost turns his back on it. You have Conor Barry, he's tried to charge it, which maybe he's been instructed to do. It looks like Barry McNamee's told him there to try and charge that down, which is fine. But there we see them jump. So he jumps late. He doesn't jump with the wall. So you can see it's almost gone over his head, or maybe he sees it coming. He turns and drops his head out of the way for me. So I think he'll be disappointed at that because he'll know that he could have done slightly better if he watches it back and maybe.
So we'll just watch it here then, again. So you're saying. I see McGuinness. So Conor Barry's at the edge, and he charges it down, and McGuinness there in the walls. Just play it there. There is. He does a bit of that. Right enough. So you think he takes that full whack in the face? It doesn't go in. You're probably right, you.
Yeah, I think so. I think no. We cannot take away from the quality of the strike. It's right in it's right in the top corner, on the side of the crossbar. It's brilliant, But I think he can. I think he's a big lad. He's 6 foot plus. I think he can jump and take that in the face, and that wee bit of bravery, I think, might have saved Harps a few points.
I know it's a great point.
Again, been super critical, and good to see Dan O'Reilly as well. There, not showing no loyalty whatsoever. He's enjoying himself there.
He enjoyed that, didn't he? He enjoyed the last minute winner. Look, I'll tell you what. In terms of I think it's a great point you've made. I didn't see it. I think obviously we don't have the replays and watch LOI, but it was something you spotted. Again with your centre half head on, you would have took that smack bang in the middle. I
actually remember taking one against Wexford one year. I think it was. I took one straight in the face and actually deflected straight off my face into the net. So some you win, some you lose. But I think it's always better to try and be brave and take it in the face. And I don't think anybody then can maybe point a finger at you.
Well, that is true. I suppose that is true. I definitely, knowing me, if I was in the wall, I would have fucking dived. I would have been right in the floor. I wouldn't have been taking it in the face. I know that's for sure. But Chief, in relation to, obviously it was a special goal to beat Mark Anthony McGinley. He pulled off some unbelievable saves again. And look, it's not that long ago there was a few people unbelievably questioning whether we should keep his number 1 jersey, which I think we both said was madness. Some unbelievable saves from him. How impressed have you been with Mark Anthony McGinley in terms of just even dealing with those mistakes? He's been almost unfazed by them, and he's been outstanding the last number of weeks. And it isn't easy when you make a couple of big mistakes like he did. He's just dusted himself off and went again. He's been superb,
Oh, he has been 100%. We talked last week there, maybe a couple of weeks ago now, about who was your player of the year, so far in the first few games, after the first phase of games. He had made a few mistakes in those games, but again, it's how you react to those. And we talked about how many times he saved Harps, and people thinking that he should be, dropped because of those, those type of mistakes. It's absolutely ludicrous to think that he wouldn't be starting in the goal, the way that he's performed, since the start of the season. Never mind, I know, look, we don't want to be looking back upon last season and the season before, where he was excellent again.
But he's got credit in the bank, from
100%. And some of the saves that he made, we have to look at this and think, Mark McGinley is, arguably the best keeper in the league.
I tweeted that yesterday. I think, well, who's better? No. He's definitely up there.
100%. For his all-round game, and I know Mark, and the way that the way that he looks after himself. There's not many more dedicated than him. The way that he conducts himself, the way that he trains. He's constantly in the gym. You can see by the shape he's in. He's a strong boy. He's very confident in his own ability. But for a goalkeeper, I think that's what's required. Across the board. So that's maybe why he was caught out maybe against Sligo, maybe taking that extra touch, or maybe losing slight concentration at times. You see sometimes he comes out and he's carrying the ball like that. Sometimes the way that
we got too cocky maybe at times.
Yeah, look, I'm not gonna have a go about that. As I say, I've played with him, watching him the last 2 seasons. I think he's been excellent, and the fact he saved Harps there again numerous occasions last weekend and the weekends before. So now there's no doubt for me that he is probably one of the first names in the team sheet, if not the first.
100%. Look, as I said, I tweeted that yesterday, just because obviously he had made a couple of mistakes, and I was just shocked that it wasn't 1 or 2. There seemed to be a lot of people looking for him to be dropped, which was mental. And I just think it just shows his mental strength and his resilience. And I suppose you need that to be a top goalkeeper, because it is a specialist position. And if you make a mistake, you might get away with it, Keith, or I do in midfield. But if you make a mistake as a goalkeeper, it usually ends up in being a goal. So he's been fantastic.
I suppose Ian Slevin makes a good point there as well, Chief, just on the comments. If it wasn't for Mark Anthony on Friday night, we're not even talking about this free kick. We're not even talking about how big a decision this is. The game was over. You know what I mean? Some of the saves, there was a couple there point blank. You seen Chrissy Lyons up high-fiving him. The opposition striker high-fiving him because they're saying it's just
it was it was an incredible save to get the power on his wrist to get it actually up over the bar was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, very good, very, very good. People calling for his head is ludicrous, and we've seen there actually young McGarvey as well on the bench at the weekend. It was, it looks like he's not too far away either. Whatever happened to young Nicholas left from Sligo, maybe he's injured or whatever. And I
don't really know what the story is there. But no, look, Mark Anthony McGinley deserves a lot of credit, and it's not that he's not immune to criticism. We criticised him on ATS Live when he made mistakes, because they were poor mistakes. So I think it's only right to highlight, the response he's had. And I'm not surprised either, because he is a top goalkeeper. But I suppose, Karen, the week before as well against Dundalk, first half we were excellent. McGinley probably kept us in it in the second half as well of that match. Worryingly, if you're a Harps fan, and obviously we both are 1-1-8. It's not a good run considering the great start. Hard one to put to you, but what do you think has went wrong? Is it a combination of maybe teams settling down and getting their own sort of, the likes of Bows have improved and so have Dundalk of late and different sides? What's your take on Harps' sort of slump in the last 8 matches?
Yeah, look, I suppose, we kind of talked about how even the league was this year and, how there wasn't really a poor side in it. No one's really been sort of cut adrift as the whipping boys of the league. That's kind of usually the way that it pans out. Which generally Harps would be kind of in that category. But just looking there, when you see the fixtures, like they're all tough games. Sligo, massive. Was a tough game again. Could have went either way. The Longford game, like they seem to be, I suppose, at the opposite end of the league. That would have been one where you've been looking for 3 points. The Pats game, didn't really play well.
That was a poor performance that night.
Yeah, again, you look at the Rovers one, you look at their quality. It's hard to make excuses. There's no really game where just when you look at those games to say we didn't really deserve to win too many of them. When you look at it like that, do we deserve to lose them? Well, there's a few, yes. You look at this game, really off form. The Derry game, yeah, we probably deserve to win the Derry game, but we could have drawn it or lost it as well. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I just think that that there stats that we have up on the screen there at the minute, those last 8 games, I think after the start we've had as well, we've kind of think that we've sort of kicked on and we haven't. Like again, we always said at the start of the season, I felt I certainly got carried away with the results. I thought this is great, but we also did say once everything settles down, once everybody gets a look at everyone, and they see their strengths and they know what to look at, I just think that things were eventually going to even themselves out, and I suppose.
Do you think Harps have changed tact a wee bit though, Cowan? Do you think have they changed their style of play? Not overly massive, but you say the high press they put on weighted in Dundalk. I felt the last day at home, they sort of settled for a point. I felt with some of the substitutions, and I don't like being critical of Ethan Boyle. I think he's a good player. He's played for Shamrock Rovers, Linfield. He's a very good defender. He's not a midfielder, but he was pushed into midfield more or less to sort of maybe solidify and hold it up. And they went down to 10 men. Do you think there's been a little bit of conservatism creep in, maybe that we've seen of old Harps? And I think Aidan Boner's made a good point there. Other than the Derry game, we've only scored once.
Yeah.
So has there been a bit of a case where when there is a couple of iffy results, you resort to what your tried and trusted model was and is, or what do you think? You just think it's a combination of factors?
Yeah, look, I suppose kind of the goals win games, and would always been a concern where the goals going to come from. We spoke a few weeks ago about the start that Foley had, and how Sullivan was able to chip in for a few games. But other than that, yes, we saw Barry score the last week a brilliant goal against Dundalk. But there's nobody like. I think Webster might have a goal as well, but other than that, there's no one else really, scoring. There's no one else really that is threatening. Yes, they seem to be trying to get Abbey in the team, and they're obviously impressed by him, and he must be showing well in training. He has shown glimpses in games. He's quick, he's powerful, but he needs to start scoring goals, and that is Ian makes a great point there. Yeah, we goals need to be coming from all over the pitch. Come back to your point about putting Ethan Boyle in the middle of the field. Was it a negative? Yeah, I suppose it was. I suppose maybe Harps saw that they've foreseen the game slipping away from them, and they were just going to take their point. I suppose they feel that Drogheda is going to be one of the teams going to be in and around them, and they want to stay ahead of them. The approach that Harps took early on in the season about pressing and closing and doing that. It's very difficult to do that continuously when you're going to stick with the similar players that you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, these guys aren't full time, so that type of way of playing, you're going to have to rotate the squad a bit more. You're going to have to put trust in the lads that you have on the bench, and that's something that we're starting to see isn't really going to materialize, or it hasn't been seen so far anyway. He's bringing subs in, but they're not really the subs that I think are going to go and win you games. It seems to be more of a defensive approach. And look, I'm sure people will look at it and say, "Oh, look, he threw on the striker in this game. He threw on a striker in this game." The approach that we saw at the start seemed to work better for them, where they pressed, and they let the lads defend and maybe get the ball up the park as quick as they could. I think that's
an interesting point you made there when you said, because I did feel when watching the Bohemians match, obviously there was the euphoria of beating Derry in the Brandywell for the first time, and the lads were just so flat. And it is, your part-time players, it's Monday, it's quick enough turnaround to the Saturday. You've always kind of referenced as well, you always felt when you played as well, there was an 11 that if was available would always play. And I think despite the strength and depth of the current squad and the quality, that probably still applies. And I think, you're already sort of touching on that. So it looks like he doesn't really trust a lot of the boys, I think it's fair to say, to change it. And maybe, as you say, that's part of the reason that's maybe, cause they're part-time. It's the results and the energy levels just aren't there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure where this, he signed players, and we talked at the start about what a great squad, and that he's brought in, and you look at the lads like the likes of Tony McNamee, hasn't really been given a fair crack this year. Really, he's been in and out, but hasn't really played. We look at Ryan Rainey, who came in one of the games. It was a tail end of a home game. I can't remember who it was against now, but did quite well. Didn't pull up trees, but it was a 10-minute spell that he got. But again, hasn't really been seen since. So Niall McGinley, I don't think has featured at all.
Wow.
Who for me is a good attacking player. He played the season that we went up maybe 3 years ago. He played and started a lot of games, but then
was he good? Was he good, Coach?
He was good. He was very capable. He wasn't lost at that level. You know what I mean? But sometimes you just so now we're going to go to Waterford. A couple of days later, and then you're looking at, well, are you going to give these lads a run now? Are you telling me that some of these lads can play a couple of games in a couple of days? And without the proper recovery, without some of the lads have been out working, some of the lads. Don't get me wrong, all these lads will have done their best to make sure they're in the best possible shape to Waterford. But you have to use your squad. You have to give these lads an opportunity. You have to give them a bit of belief that they're going to play at some time. Because you know what, the summer transfer window's coming up, and those lads will be saying, you know what, thanks very much for that. That was a massive waste of time. I'm done. You have to give them at least give them some sort of game time. Give them some sort of game. But then what's going to happen this week is they're going to go to Waterford. Waterford's struggling. They're thinking, we have to win this game. So we have to get what I think is the best 11, tape up whoever might be struggling. Somebody might be at 50%. Now, just taking, for example, the likes of a Barry McNamee, a Foley, maybe O'Sullivan, somebody got there, might be hanging together, but he's our best player, so I'm gonna put him on. You know what I mean? So I think they have to look at that. They have to think about introducing some of these lads early on now. Give them that belief that they are going to play, and then come the tail end of the season when you need them, when boys are struggling, Ollie or Higgsy will have no one that I can trust this man because I had him in there. You know what I mean? So you have to give these lads a go. I think we spoke about before, Chief, as well. With having a squad, having a big squad, it's happened to Ballifay. It's happened for years, where you had the luxury of, say, the League Cup there, and you would have had players in and around the squad, and you might have been playing, say, maybe a Cockhill or maybe Galway or Derry or something like that there, and he would have made 7, 8, 9 changes. And as sometimes almost unfortunate for the guys coming in, because then you're playing with guys that haven't had much game time, and you're playing against a Cockhill side,
who are up and at it and they're buzzing for it. It's a tough game. It's a tough game.
It's a horrible 100%. Game to play in.
It's
it's one of those games where you can't really win, because if you do win, you're supposed to beat them, and if it's closer, you don't beat them. Then
it's a disaster. Exactly. And then 100%. Their games are the worst games to play in.
They are, but then the management then can use that stick against you. You know what I mean? So that if you're playing with a brand new team and things don't go your way, and then if you're going to management maybe 3 or 4 weeks later and saying, look, why am I not playing? I should be playing. They can revert back to, you got the opportunity and you didn't, in a one-off game. So no, I just think that
I'm laughing at Nisho Farrell's comment. He said the Jobby squad is well staffed this year.
I'd say it's as strong a Jobby squad, Chief, since you've been there.
I'll tell you what, it's as good. I would struggle to get into that Jobby squad. I'd say I mightn't even make the 20.
20 as well. 20. Because there's some lads in the 20. Some of the lads aren't even making the 20 squad of 20. Imagine where their heads are at. 20 in the squad.
I just think your overall point there's bang on the money. It's I think sometimes Harps fans and different people involved don't really understand fully the sacrifice. Those lads have been training since January, 3-4 times a week. And you're January, February, March, April, May, you're coming to 6 months.
Yeah.
And there's some lads that haven't played, like McGuinness featured. Rainey's got 20 minutes. It's very hard for them, as much as we said earlier on that Rainey needs to be patient and that, because I felt that those lads would get opportunities, and the nature of the League of Ireland through injury, suspensions, and as you say, form and stuff.
Yeah.
It is hard to justify for him, why he would continue, because you just want an opportunity. I'm sure Ryan Rainey, like everyone else, if you get an opportunity and you're miles off it, know yourself, you're miles off it, and you haven't played well. If you play 2, 3, 4, 5 games and you're not up to, people can see it, we can see it watching.
Yeah.
But Rainey could potentially leave Harps, and we can't say here he wasn't good enough for senior football.
No,
because we don't know.
Nobody really knows.
He wasn't given an opportunity. If you don't play, how are you supposed to know? And I think that could be a real shame. And I think we spoke about it before. I've seen Johnny Dunleavy come back in, and Johnny's had a great career in the League of Ireland. Obviously, he's been dogged by injuries and stuff, and he's great experience. But Johnny's at the tail end of his career. Ryan Rainey's someone, if you give him an opportunity, he could play for Harps for 5, 6 years, Chief, or longer. He could be a real top player. Because I just think, again, it's that short-term thinking where you're thinking, if I invest in Ryan Rainey, he's local. He's a good player. He's got good pedigree. He was at Wolves. He was a top player in the Senior League. If I trust him and he'll get better the more he plays at this level, then he could end up playing 100 games, 200 games for Harps. But it doesn't seem to be happening. And as you say, it is disappointing, and you've probably seen it happen up there, and I've seen it happen up there before. But
I suppose we're on that as well. Obviously Johnny's come in, and obviously Johnny just wants to play football, and he wants an opportunity to play wherever it is. So it's not like we're criticizing Johnny Dunleavy for coming in and playing. He doesn't pick the team; he just want to try and play. But where maybe the management might have to look at it and think, well, yes, Johnny, he's had his injury concerns, and look, obviously he's deemed fit enough to play.
Yeah.
But if I have someone who is fit and who can operate in those roles, why wouldn't I give him? It's just as you're saying, Steve, I'm really just repeating what you're saying. Why wouldn't I give that man an opportunity? Why wouldn't I give him do you think if likes of Ryan Rainey was at Derry, would he get the chance to play?
It's probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but probably. I just seen there Patrick Ferry played up top. I think he came in for Parkhouse for Derry there at the weekend. Ronan Boyce, say for example, your man Boyce wouldn't play for Harps. I don't think Ollie would pick him. I think if Ronan Boyce was at Ollie's disposal, he wouldn't play him. He'd go for he'd go for Aiton Boyle at right back or Johnny Dunleavy, and I don't think Patrick Ferry would play either. I think it's in their DNA at Derry, and again, we all slag there, but I do think it's in their DNA to give young players an opportunity. And we have Mark Walsh came back from Swansea. I think he was up at Harps last summer. I don't know what happened. But he's at Derry. Now, I know he came on against Bowes, did quite well. He didn't feature last weekend. I think he's picked up an injury. That's 3 Donegal lads in playing for Derry. It always seems to happen. And I think the reason it happens is you think if you look at the evidence over the years, you've seen it with Barry himself, Barry McNamee, and different players.
Yeah,
they get games, they get played. I just think Ollie, the type of manager he is, he doesn't want lads that aren't right at this level. Now people say, well, sure, Stephen Doherty's playing, and Stephen Doherty is playing, he's doing well. But again, will Stephen Doherty have an extended stay in the team? I don't know. I hope he does. I know Mark Coyle's in there. It's not that he's not playing local players, but I definitely don't think someone like Boyce and those lads wouldn't play. I don't know if you think maybe I'm being harsh. Would you think that? You're a defender. You know the way Ollie thinks. You know the way Ollie sets up teams. Does he fit into that category to play? He likes his defenders big and physically strong. I'm not Boyce a big lad, but he's a young lad. I think
it's a difficult one to say now because Boyce has done so well for Derry that you're thinking, I'd definitely pick him. He's come in, he's played really well. He scored a couple of goals. He scored the winner down in Waterford last week, this weekend, which is excellent. I think that it's a difficult question to answer now because he has started so well. I was critical of him last week, I suppose. It was 2 weeks ago, maybe against Longford. For the goal that I can see alongside. But because he has done so well, I'm sort of forgetting this lad's 18. This lad's 18 years of age or 19 years of age, and he's playing Premier League of Ireland football. He's going
to make mistakes. He's going to make mistakes.
Of course he is. And
that's what I mean. Like, these lads will make mistakes, and I'm sure if Rainey came in, he'd make mistakes too. It's adapting to a different level. But it's got to be. There has to be a bit of a sort of a projected sort of gamble where you're saying, well, he will make mistakes, but I think he's good enough at this level. And then if he is good enough, then you're going to have a player there for a large number of years. We've talked about this before with other players. Is Ethan Boyle going to be at Harps for the next 5-6 years? I don't know. He's obviously not local and that. So it's just, I think Jared McLaughlin's made a point. He says, in Ollie's defence here, lads, could it not be the case that some of the boys you are mentioning are not doing enough in training? It's very hard to make a comment when we don't see what's happening on the training pitch. Now, the only point I would say that's fair enough. But again, training and matches are a completely different ball game. There's been plenty of lads who don't do it in the training pitch, even though you have to have high standards in training, but can do it in a match and come alive in a match and the competitive edge and stuff that's there in the game. I just feel give players an opportunity. If you give them an opportunity, they're not good enough. They're not going to play. That's fine. Nobody's going to be coming on here saying, here, look, I know Ryan Rainey's made 4 mistakes in 4 games. What he needs to just persevere with them. But if you're not giving anyone an opportunity, you're giving boys 20 minutes and they eventually leave. What is the point?
But even at that, look, as I suppose the way this conversation sort of started, we were looking at the last 8 games. Lads might be flying in training.
1 and 8.
Lads might be flying in training, but they haven't performed in the last 8 games to justify their selection. You know what I mean? For me, anyway, you can be the best.
That's a great point. That's you're bang on the money there. It's not that Harps have won 7 out of the last 8 and he can't change the team. There's been 1 and 8 and the team's not changing. That's the frustrating part, I think.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Now, Jazza makes a valid point. A lot to do with training as well. But we've often heard that lads, he's a bad trainer. But comes alive in games. That's what the most important thing is. I think. But yes, you want lads to train well and you want them to be about it. But for me, no, it's the games where you earn your crust. You might be the best trainer in the world when it comes to games, you're no good. Then that's sort of
even in terms of fitness too. You could train every single day of the week. Match fitness,
match sharpness is the one. Yeah, that's the one.
All there as well. But it's just look. I would be disappointed as a fan and to see some lads maybe leave in next month, and again hard to argue with them leaving. But I'd be disappointed to see them leave. I felt passionately that time about Ryan McConnell. I felt and I think Tony made a reference as well, but McConnell came in and trained a bit with us at Rovers, and he was a good lad. Sometimes you'd be thinking this boy's coming back from Manchester United, they might be smelling himself. Wasn't any of that. You obviously trained him when he was at Harps. He played against Cork Hill, Chief. He played against Cork Hill. It's very hard to say he wasn't good enough to play for Harps. He might not have been, but he wasn't given an opportunity. It's very hard to say. I don't know. Maybe you can shed light into the McConnell situation. No, I know I'm not saying he should have played ahead of you, but
that was the worry for me. I was.
You wanted him out.
He's miles off it. He hasn't a clue.
He's in there chatting about Rashford. He's in there chatting about Marcus Rashford. Get him out of here.
He said Ollie hasn't a clue. Right? So no, because I remember obviously when McGuinness came in, obviously played centre half, so you see him as a threat straight away. I think that's natural enough. Like, but absolute gem, great lad, great fella, technically excellent, and I thought, watching him in training and stuff, and I was like, yeah, he definitely has a bit about him, like, and then wasn't really getting his opportunity. Again, not tried. Got a game against Cockhill, and then I think that was it. And it was, I remember
speaking to the Mallard then, didn't he? I think Dykes seen enough of him to take him to Ballina-Mallard, so. Yeah,
so disappointing for him as well, because I say great fella, absolute gent. Would have liked to see him done better, but again, that probably would have been to my detriment. So I was maybe happy enough to see him move on. You think pressure drops?
Your face doesn't fit here, Ryan. On you go. But I just feel like, again, like there was a lad that was at Manchester United from Donegal, when he's back here, he's a local. Jesus Christ, if you give him an opportunity, as I say, he could go on and play a couple hundred games for Harps, and you could build your back four around him when you moved up to East Belfast for when the money came calling. McGinness could have been a great replacement for you. But do you know what I mean? Like,
he went to Rovers, so he obviously had a bit of invest money too.
What's that? No, cut that out. No, but they brought your man Cantwell that time as well from Galway, who was surplus to requirements at Galway, and he came up and he played, and I think he played 20-odd matches, and you think if McGinness had maybe played 20-odd matches, it might have been again a better thing. But it's a difficult one to put your finger on. I think you touched on it earlier. Is it a trust thing? Why do you sign these lads? I don't know. It's a tough one. Great response there. Keep Tony McNamee said in there. So
I'm not sure.
The Swilly man's backing you up here. Kevin Lowther says that more of a thing. Ollie has to look after players travelling from other counties and has to play them to keep them happy. I'll put that to you, Count.
Yeah, I think that's always kind of been the way. You have to justify. I think as a manager bringing these lads in, like the lad is coming in and getting 300 quid, has to be played from the lad who's down the road who's maybe getting 100. Like, so, I think that's always been the way. But I think that's the way in every club. Like the manager has to justify these signings that he makes. And I was surprised at some of the lads that did sign back after last year and the way that maybe they weren't maybe played as often last year, and they were kind of came in quite early. But then again, I was delighted at some of the lads that came back, because it really did make this, as we talked about, a strong squad. But a strong squad, right? A strong squad only happens if everyone's getting a fair crack at it, right?
100%.
Because you can have the strong squad soon diminishes once lads aren't getting a game, and then
100%.
Fortunately, because of the league that we play in, it's different maybe in England or Scotland or Spain or wherever. Top leagues in the world, lads getting thousands of pounds. It can be quite easy enough to sit there when you're getting big money.
Absolutely.
But then once you're not, and the first team is starting to take its shape, and there's other lads that aren't getting the sniff, then it's the wee clicks start to form, and you see it all the time. The wee clicks start to form, and he's
the jobby squad.
The jobby squad, but you know what I mean, like. That happens, and when lads,
it's only natural. It's like a support group for players that have been ostracized from the squad,
that happens, and is even worse by results. So if the results are good, this wee jobby squad doesn't really materialize. This jobby squad can't say nothing. But when the results are bad and they're still not getting a sniff, that's when things turn a bit sour, and
100%.
that's where it's a really difficult one to try and stop. There's opportunities now to make a few changes, to give lads a game. Yes, you're going to Waterford. Yes, tough place to go, but you're playing against a young enough team. Like, I don't think that this, I suppose Waterford are struggling big time. It's not going to be a make or break, but yes, you have to pick up points. There's an opportunity to play a few lads, because the difference of some of the lads that you're playing between the lads that are on the bench, for me, is a toss of a coin. From what I've seen,
100%, absolutely is.
And as I say, you might change that man's mind now And he could be halfway out the door, but you could change his mind now by giving him a game against Waterford. He might do
100%.
well, and then he might change the gaffer's mind. Then I think, you know what, I can trust this guy. He played well, hasn't he? I'll keep him in the team. So they have to start changing things up there, or come the summer transfer window, they're definitely going to be losing a few lads.
Chief, I think you made a number of great points there, and I suppose the big one is it is a bit different, even in terms of where Harps, where we're based geographically in the league, and we're not full time or part time, and lads are taking probably going to have to take a day off work, tomorrow to go to Waterford. You sit on the bench, you don't get on, and as I say, just to go back to the general crux of it, when the team's not going well, and it's you should be introduced to try and make an impact and be given an opportunity. When that doesn't happen, you do think, right, the writing's on the wall here. Like, if we can't get a game when things are going south a little bit, and it's 1-1-8. And you don't trust me to go, and and you can see I'm making the commitment. I'm here. I'm traveling. I'm taking days off work. It can be hard one to swallow. But look, we'll move off this topic. We'll not. It'll just, as I say, it'll be disappointing to see some lads leave without an opportunity. I think anyone in football, whether it was me, you playing for Harps, we were given an opportunity. At different circumstances to play when the club was in different positions, and if we didn't get it. We wouldn't.
Yeah, look, great point, Chief. Just before we move off, I think Denise O'Neill makes a great point here. What happens when all these out-of-county players leave when the FAI money runs out? That's something that's something that we talk about all the time. About lads that maybe haven't got a run, and they're from Dublin. They're from, just picking Dublin as an example. They could be from anywhere, but just some of the lads from outside. The money's not there anymore. Or they get an offer back in Dublin, which is as good as the one they're getting here, and then you're turning back to the lads then that you give the cold shoulder to, 6 months ago. Like we've seen that happen. We've seen that happen. It's happened to you, Chief. To be honest, there's no bones about it. Like you were surplus to requirements because Ollie had an idea that lads that he was bringing in were better than you. And then. You lose a player, and it's going to happen again. It's going to happen all the time. Is Ollie going to he seems to bring these lads out of everywhere? He seems to attract them down for whatever reason. Look, some because
and he's recruited some top players as well.
He has.
Let's not lose sight of that. But I just want to take up what Jared McLaughlin's saying here, because I think you're picking me up wrong. Like he's saying, lads in every squad in the country, that players aren't happy. Of course, that's the way it is. It's up to those players to do more to get in the team. This notion that local players deserve to play, I'm not buying it. I'm not saying local players deserve to play. What I'm saying is they need to be given an opportunity. I'm not saying that, how can you say to someone, sign them in January, and they're training every single day and then not play them? You try to tell me that Tunde deserves to play, and when in some games he's been miles off at Shanley from Scotland. Those lads are playing because there's been a massive investment made into them as players, to relocate them to Donegal, to put them into accommodation. So that's what I'm saying, Jared. I'm saying if Tunde was from Castlefin, I don't think he would probably play. Let's call it straight as spade. Tagbo was the same, and a teammate of yours, Garvin Friedel, suffered from that. Where Tagbo would play every single week. Whereas if you played Garvin Friedel and give him a proper run at it, if Garvin Friedel played the amount of games that Wilfred Tagbo played, I'd say he probably he might have had a better opportunity to actually, establish himself as a senior player, and it didn't happen. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's when you make investment in those players, they will get more of an opportunity than local players. Not that local players deserve the chance just because they're from Burton Board or they're from Melton. That's not what I'm saying. So I hope I've clarified.
I think you have. I think you have settled down there now, Mark.
I'm getting irate. He always whines me. All those fucking cocktail lads. Hey,
these Jazz alone. To be fair, Jazz made great points there. To be fair,
he did.
He's made a good argument. He's made a good argument. But look, we're not saying just because you're local you deserve to play. That's not it. No, but when you haven't won a game in 8, or you've only won 1 in 8, surely you deserve 15-20 minutes to get show 100%.
100%. And I remember watching Carol Tayofak play right wing ahead of me, and I thought, right, that's fair enough. Good luck. Right, we'll move on. Right,
move on.
We'll move on now. We'll move on. There's a few boys. The few boys agree with me. That's good. Chief, you made an interesting point to me before you came on, and I thought it was excellent. You were chatting about Mark Coyle. You think obviously he gets a bit of a, he's probably suffers from the fact that he's a bit of a combative midfielder. he's known for picking up yellows. But you noticed the last day he came in for a bit of rough treatment. Just tell us a little bit about what you've noticed with Coyle and that maybe
there was a few points.
By refs.
Yeah, there was a few times in the game I felt, because of the nature, as we talked about there, the way that Mark plays, he comes in for a lot of, he picks up a lot of bookings, let's say, and I think Conan Byrne, current Glenavon, I think he's almost ex-Glenavon now, but, current Pats legend, Conan Byrne makes the point, there's only three sure things in life: death, taxes, and Mark Coyle picking up a booking. Which was
that was harsh. Like I thought that was harsh, to be fair.
A very harsh point. Like Mark gets about the park, breaks things up really good, at what he does, probably the best in the league at what he does, arguably. Has had a great start to the season. There was 2 times on the first half he's been absolutely taken out of the game. Now we looked for the footage, we couldn't pick it up. Obviously the lack of replays and things.
He was smashed in one of the challenges.
Smashed twice. Nothing done in the game. And if it's we talk about, Mark Anderson refers to them as the bird Canty. I feel that, we talked about referee in the league, the standard of referee, and, how, Toomey's got a shocking decision because maybe we talked about referees and, how maybe they haven't played the game and, they don't, aren't wise to how players can manipulate the game to gain an unfair advantage. We talked about Chris Lyons there at the start of it, the way that he has done, about leaning into thing and then falling down and so on like that there. We talked about standard of referee and the league. We looked at the Derry Shamrock Rovers last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? Where the ball 15 yards down, there's a ball sitting there, so they pick up that ball and they throw it into play and catch it. Now, you can look at that a couple of ways. Stephen Bradley praised Liam Scales for his quick thinking and, catching them while they were sleeping.
Bradley's interview annoyed me. He was almost
I think I sent you that piece. I think I sent you that piece, Steve, about him praising Scales' quick thinking and almost having to go to Derry lads because they switched off. You know what I mean? You've gained an unfair. You picked up a ball 15 yards away from where the ball went out of play. And then there's actually 2 balls on the pitch when the other ball's in play. Now the rule states that as long as the other ball isn't interfering with play or interfering with that phase of play, it's okay. So that nullifies that argument. Nonsense. But the fact that the referee can see it and the linesman can see where the ball's out of play and not just say, hold on a minute. I know I'm refereeing in Tala Stadium here, and I know these lads are top of the league. That is absolutely that's cheating. That's a totally unfair advantage. It's an advantage for Shamrock Rovers, which was brought them back into the game and stole 3 points from Derry.
We've seen Shamrock Rovers get a couple of advantageous decisions last year in Finn Park as well too. So
I think look, we started off talking about Mark Coyle here. I know I've certainly gone off topic, but I think it's just it's the way that we talked about, Chief, the FAI Cup final, the showcase event and the season for every league. But for the FAI, it's been the top 2 teams. Now somebody else can come in, and say in the last 10 years. It's been the team that's been first and second that's played in the final.
It's a joke.
Show me a league in the world where that happens. That yes, it's the showcase event. Yes, you want to see the best teams, but you want to see the underdog have a crack at it. So you're telling me that the draw just happens to have the best 2 teams in the league in the final.
Avoid each other the whole way.
Like
Celtic and Rangers dominate football in Scotland, and before say Rangers money problems, they very rarely played in the Scottish Cup final because they'd meet in the quarter or semi, or they'd be knocked out. So I agree with you 100%. But would you just say, I know we kind of went off point there, you're kind of saying Mark Coyle has, cause of Conan Byrne's tweets and things like that, his card's marked now where he's getting rough treatment, and then when he maybe goes to get a wee bit of retribution or he makes a tackle, he's regarded as that player who's dirty and he gets booked.
I just think over the years, Harps have, for whatever reason, I kind of know a few of the reasons, so we'll get into them in a minute. All right, but I think we're seen as a combative side, as a side, that likes to rough up the opposition. You look at it, in terms of some of our attacking methods, the Stoke of the Premier League, like, long throws, balls in the box, flashing people about, like, I just think that because it's Mark has maybe picked up a few yellows, that anything against him, doesn't really seem to be a booking, because it's Mark Hoyle and because he's used to that. So, like, if it was someone else that might be put up on there, it could be seen as a booking because it's Mark. Now, sure, Mark can handle that. Mark gets about himself. Mark puts boys up in the air. Just because you put boys up in the air yourself doesn't mean what it's done to you that it's not a booking.
Exactly. That you don't.
I think that's the way we can look at it. Like, I just think referees in general, they don't like coming to Finn Park. They know what they're going to get, and I think
as part of the reason, Ollie. Like, let's be honest about it. I listened to Ollie after. Well, I think it was the Shamrock Rovers game, wasn't he? He got in hot water, and he's 3 games he's banned for, Chief. Is it? I think it's 3 games he's got.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So, like, at the end of the day, Ollie's coming out saying the communication needs to be better from the FAI and that, but, like, this isn't something that's developed in the last year or 2 years with Ollie. Like, since the season in there, he's been getting sent off regularly. Like, and I think, as much as I think he's done an unbelievable job, and we're even having a bit of a pop at him tonight about squad rotation, like, he isn't immune to criticism. So, I mean, that's part of, we're supporters, we're allowed to express our opinions. And I do think he has to take more responsibility to come out and blame the FAI for his disciplinary record. His card's marked. Now, he needs to know a bit like a player sometimes who maybe, gets a reputation for being a physical type of player, and just any tackle he makes ends up in him getting a red card. All he knows now, he just needs to shut up. Because anything he says, they're only looking for... nobody's going to say, oh my God, Ollie was sent off again. Yeah. Like, even if it was, a throwaway remark and they make it 10 times worse, nobody's going to have any sympathy for Ollie. And, like, I think, how much does it affect your preparation as a player when Ollie's not in the dressing room? Because he's not allowed in the dressing room. He's not allowed at half-time. Like, it surely isn't good, like. So...
Yeah, like, I just before going to that, Denise makes a good point there that she wrote a few "I'm sorry" letters for me back in the day as well, and I appreciated every one of those. Denise, thanks very much. Yeah, probably turned like a 3 match into a 2 match for me after. So, cheers.
Well, she didn't do any good with me with Limerick. I got an extra match that time when they appealed me. I got a 2-match ban and then end up getting a 4-1. So
we know what.
Only let me down, huh? Only let me down.
But just go back to your point. Yes, look, I remember because we actually spoke about this a few years ago at a team meeting, and it was kind of brought up, that the side I wasn't even put Ollie need to calm down. I think it was put the lads on the sideline need to rein in a bit.
They were bracketed in a group.
Yeah, the lads on the sideline, whoever they might be, need to relax a bit during games.
And who said that? Was that you, or who was the player?
I don't think it was me. I think it was come from somebody else. But that was the point that was made.
How was that received?
Ollie stated that he was always in control. He said that he was always in control. Don't worry about me. I'm always in control of what's going on. Now, like, look, we've all been to the games. We know how animated that they get on the sidelines. And I think for me, at a time, you have to pick your battles. You have to pick your battles. And if you're arguing about a throw in that's on the halfway line, who cares really? Who cares? Like, yes, look, it's look, don't get me wrong. I've had a go at referees and linesmen about not getting throws in there. But when you're arguing about everything, right? And then it comes to a penalty decision, or it comes to a thing. It's just white noise with the ref for the foot. So they're at it again, and it's they call for absolutely everything. They call for it, and they get irate about throw-ins. They get irate about corner kicks. They get irate about a foul or was not a foul. So I think they really have to. Ollie needs to be in the dugout. Ollie needs to be in the dressing room. He needs to. Seeing him sitting up against the shop or standing up in the gantry, like there was one of the games. It didn't really matter if he sent off or not. A few games that actually maybe worked in our favour, because you had Higgsy on one side and you had Ollie on the other side of the pitch. So either the right back or the left back was, everyone was looked after. You know what I mean? So, like, I I think it doesn't do.
Well, that obviously fell in deaf ears though, because you guys are trying to breach this in a sensitive way, and you're kind of saying, look, and the sideline as a group, it needs to improve because you could see as players, this isn't helping us getting decisions either. Because it's hard enough in the League of Ireland without the team of officials who probably don't want to come up to Finn Park anyway, and then they're like, we're gonna have to fucking listen to Ollie Horgan in my ear on every single thing. And then they're probably going to give decisions, any 50-50 decisions. And then it makes it worse. But I remember, right, Mickey McGlynn will testify this down at Shamrock Rovers when we're playing the Bees. Shock, I was in the bench. So at a great vantage point. And he was just like, he was on automation mode. Like he was just going at the fourth official non-stop. But this one time, on a free kick just in front of the dugout, it gets awarded to Finn Harps. But Ollie's already in that trail of thought. He doesn't even know where the free kick's gone. He's just having a pop at the fourth official. He's like, get out of it, will you? Get out of it. The fourth official's going, it's your fucking free. It's your fucking free. Like the fourth official properly lost it. Me and Mickey were in stitches. You know what, the fourth officials are all like wee twerps and they're all he lost it because Ollie was like, will you get out of it? Get out of it. And the fourth official was like, it's your fucking free. And he didn't back down, Ollie. He's just like, get out of it. Get out of it. Get out of it.
That's it. That's what you're up against. That's what you're up against. You're not telling me.
Madness.
That as soon as the referee get the text, or I don't know how they find out, email or whatever, they find to get the letter, Finn Park, and they're just thinking, oh no, I was there 2 weeks ago. And I gave a penalty at the last minute. Oh, hell. So like, but when they see, Finn Park, that's right, Ollie's in the stand. No problem, brilliant, head up the road.
Head up the road,
So look, I just think, I suppose on a serious note with that stuff, I think it doesn't help him obviously being in the stands, like we said. I don't think it helps their cases when you're looking for those 50-50s, those 50-50 decisions if they're going against you or for you. I think, look, referees are human, and although probably they shouldn't, if they're to admit it, that they shouldn't think about, he's had a go at me, or he's done this, or he's done that. I think the nicer you are, people generally, you might maybe get those 50-50s now and again, like, and funny for referees, like, that's one of the things that I always did, as before you went out on a pitch, you always find out who the referee was. So if it was, for instance, there, I see Rob Hennessy's doing the match tomorrow night. Whoever's reffing, like you might forget their name or whatever. So it was always, I'll find out his name before I go out. Rob, hey Rob, good to see you, Rob, brilliant. Hey Rob, I'm not sure about that last one, but you got this one right anyway for sure. So you always be in that train of thought. You always want to try and talk to these lads. Try and make it a conversation. Try and if you can, influence them to what
exactly.
And
100%.
So I just think
you're 100%.
The referee never seemed to work. That's what I always thought.
No, well, it's funny you just mentioned about trying to influence referees. Obviously, Kieran Calls out for the refs in Ulster Senior League. Packy. So I'd be like chatting away. All right, Packy, what's the crack? And sure, never worked. 20 minutes in, he'd be like, "I've fucking had enough. All right, fucker, I've had enough of you. Done it. Not here anymore. You all fucking McGuinness. And all the niceties before the match. Kieran's playing well. Some stuff. Kieran's playing. All this. Kieran should be, Packy loving. He's playing well, Mark. He's playing well. But 20 minutes in, not happening. But no, look, in general, I just think. That isn't to say the FAI aren't immune to criticism. We've talked about some of the decision making. You've seen it firsthand. Horrendous. It drives you bananas, especially when Ollie is as meticulous as he is. He's so detailed, but at the same time, he's got to try to find a way to just rein it in, control it, because it's only going to get worse and it's going to affect the team. So, yeah.
Nisha Farr makes a great point there. It says a lot when Higgsy's a cam one.
That's a good way to sum it up. I suppose.
That's a good point. Yeah, but I find Higgsy obviously, like, Higgsy gets excited, Higgsy goes for it, but I always find he's more valid in his reasoning. You know what I mean? As I say, Ollie will fly off the handle for anything, for any decision that goes against them.
And Ollie flew off the handle against Shamrock Rovers when he got a free kick awarded in his face.
When he got the decision,
he was just an automation mode to go bananas. So that's why I'm laughing when he told you, "I'm always in control. I'm always in control." Jesus.
Anyway,
what are we? Shane Ward's giving me a bit of stick. Hey, he's saying what about the discipline of the Iron Moor 4? That was already addressed. We're not going to go. We're not going to go back into that.
We're back
we just
want to take that back up again.
Ironmore is a great island. We just wanted to play a bit of football. Yeah. Right, Chief. Before we move on to the Jimmy McGuinness speculation, Ian Slevin's come up and said score prediction for tomorrow night. Waterford are back to full strength as well, by the way, Mark Anderson said. So I don't think it's the young Cubs tomorrow night. So I don't know. I know Mark Bircham is there now. So it's probably it is a tricky game. It's always a tricky game.
Yeah, it's always a tricky game, but look, it's a ground where Harps have done really well over the years. I think we spoke about the last time Harps came up. I think Harps have it's probably the best record over any side in the league. I think it's maybe 14 or 15 games unbeaten against
down at RCS, Jesus.
Up and down, So I think we've done really well against them recently. So hopefully that continues. All right there, Jim.
I'm laughing just because I remember I got sick of myself down there. With spaghetti. Do you remember we had the dodgy pre-match meal?
That was actually probably one of the last times we had spaghetti as a pre-match meal. I think we
the referee was trying to get me to go off. The referee was trying to get me to go off because he thought I had blood on my top, and I was telling him it was spaghetti.
No, how come every good story you have, Chief, revolves around food? Every story you chat about. If it's not spaghetti, it's Snickers.
Snickers or spaghetti, yeah, 2 S's. Yeah. But so what are you saying? Score prediction? What do you reckon? Then you think normal service will resume?
I think I don't know. I think it's because of the way Harps have been going. It's made a difficult, a more difficult tie. I think confidence at the minute mightn't be too high, although after a great start. But I think just getting a point on the board. I think a draw would be a good result. Although Waterford, struggling, very very much struggling, and being at the bottom. They're at the bottom of the table, are they? So I think that's one where they should be looking for 3 points. I think we have to have a look at themselves again. But look, I've been super critical here. I think we need to go and win the game, but I think a point would be a good result. So look, I think I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna go 1-1.
You're going for a draw.
Yourself, Chief. How do you think it's going to go?
It's hard to sort of disagree. I know being boring with yourself there, but I think with Mark Bircham, I think you always see it when a new manager comes in. Group of players are re-energized. They always get a result. You've seen it with Rory Higgins coming on at Derry. Derry hadn't won a game in 6. Rory comes in. They went to Sligo, who were flying top of the league and won. So you could be afraid of that. Harps getting them at the the wrong time when Bircham's in there and has rejuvenated them. So it'll be definitely a tough game. You take into account the trying to lift yourself off the canvas after conceding a last-minute goal on Friday. You're travelling all day down to Waterford. If you don't start well, look, as you said, there's nothing in these games. There's nothing in the games to kick the ball in them. I think I agree with you, though. A draw would be a good result. I know people are saying here, Mark Anderson are saying, beat tomorrow, we're bang in trouble. I think any point on the road in the League of Ireland when you're a part-time team is a good one. And I said that against Longford as well. Yeah,
a few other ones coming in. Brian Smith thinks 2-1 Harps. Ian Slevin thinks 2-1 Harps. Kieran Cannon, going back to one of our other points, I think he's saying here, if Finn Harps won the league, I wouldn't care where the players are from. Yeah, but they're not won the league, and they won't win the league with that model. So I think if we're in that area, then look, we'll hold our hands up and say if they win the league, it doesn't matter where the players are from. But when
100%, again, as we say, we're not against players from outside the league all coming in. Just people need to understand what we're saying. It's the fact that when those players that have been brought in are playing, regardless of whether they're playing well or not, and getting an opportunity against the local players who aren't getting any opportunities. That's what we're saying. Doesn't make much sense. But the recruitment from Ollie has been quality in a lot of them. But a lot of boys saying 2-1 Harps. Look, we'll see. It'll be a good match, So
good match. One thing as well I wanted to talk about was the state of the Harps pitch. Finn Park over the last couple of weeks has been unbelievable shape. It looks on the TV anyway. I haven't been up. But it just shows you they should have done that maybe years ago. Chucked all the fans out, and the only way to get in is if you have a pitchfork and do the I've seen a group of lads up behind the goal, or sorry, up behind the goal, up behind the dugouts, and it's like, that's a big group of lads up there. You know, I thought we weren't supposed to be in these games or whatever. They've opened the gate, and every lad's come out with a pitchfork, you know, and they're turning the sods and keeping everything sharp. So fair play to them for doing that there. But
there's about 35 grounds, man. That's all you need for a good pitch in the league, Ireland. 35 grounds, man, you're flying. But in fairness, that's what annoys me as well. I think Adrian Ferry made the point on Twitter. You know, there's plenty of pundits that love to hammer Finn Park when it's not in the best of condition and it's boggy. So it wouldn't kill them to actually acknowledge that the pitch is quality. Because I mean, Keith Long came out after the first game of the season and was having a pop at the playing surface and stuff, but it looked quality on TV the last night.
That's an easy one for the pundits. That's an easy one for the pundits, Chief. You'll say yourself, like, you know, as soon as they start talking about Finn Park, they'll be saying the way they play on that pitch, blah blah blah. That's that's generally the first 2 points that are made. Like, so yes, it's nice to be able to, you know, win games occasionally on a good surface as well. Like, you know, and fair play to the lads that have been doing the work and getting it in great shape. So
yeah, 100%. Right, Chief. We'll move on to the final topic of tonight, and it'll be interesting to see what the lads watching think. So obviously McGuinness was linked to arguably the biggest job in Irish football and domestically. You know, when you think of Dundalk's success in Europe and playing Arsenal, and Stephen Kenny got the Ireland job off the back of Dundalk. What do you make of it? Like, look, we don't know if he's going to be appointed or not, but McGilton has come out and said that he spoke to him. What's your feeling on the McGuinness thing and, you know, his links to Dundalk?
You know, it's not one that I would sort of maybe take too seriously. Look, I think we've all read and heard and seen, you know, the ambition that Jim McGuinness has to be a football manager, and, you know, the lengths that he's gone to. You know, he's like traveled the world to try and, you know, obtain as much experience and knowledge about the game that he has. To not much, I suppose, success. I suppose it may be fair enough to say, you know, he had the job in America, didn't really work out. China, you know, for different reasons, you know, it didn't really materialize that there was much success there either. I just think that, look, I think what he's trying to do is really. I'm not really sure what the kind of words I'm looking for here. I think that for Jim McGuinness to go to Dundalk and be successful will be extremely difficult. Chief, you know more about Gaelic football than I do, which wouldn't be hard. So I think I'm just gonna put this question right back onto you, and you can give me what you think on it, because for me, I just think it's a non-starter for me. Not to be too critical on McGuinness in general what he's done, but for me, I don't see it getting off the ground. But maybe you might see it differently.
Yeah, no, look, I think, you know, it might get off the ground, but I just think even what surprised me was, you know, McGilton, who's the director of football there, and he's probably getting paid handsomely for that role, and he'd done a piece with Dan McDonnell, and he acknowledged that he'd spoke to McGuinness, but he was referencing crossovers, like he's referencing crossovers to the GAA, and I'm like, that's bananas to me, because you're more or less justifying that he's in contention for the job because what he done with Donegal. Which is madness, because if you're talking about McGuinness, right, he left Donegal in 2014 and he's entered this realm of professional football and soccer management and coaching. Like, that's not a good sign if you're referencing what he did with Donegal, because it would obviously suggest that he hasn't. And again, you know, I'm not being overly harsh here, but like, he went to Celtic as a performance director. And I think he was an assistant to the under-20s. He was an assistant to Roger Schmidt in China, and then, you know, he's had one job in professional soccer, and he won one match in 14. Yeah, and he's a candidate, or he was interviewed, or Jim McGilton spoke to him based on what he done with Donegal 7 years ago. That's mental. Like, and what kind of frustrates me is, like, I'm a Donegal fan, and I was there in All Ireland final in 2012, 2014 Ulster finals. What he did was incredible. So, but if he wants to be taken serious as a professional soccer manager, then how the hell can Jim McGilton reference what he did, you know, with the GAA? Like, you know, he's been there for 7 years, and the only evidence you have to say, well, could he be a success at Dundalk, is not look at what he did with Donegal. It's like, look what he did in America, and it wasn't good. Like, and I just can't get my head around when you see all the coaches that are available for the Dundalk job. why this McGuinness thing is still, you know, as prevalent, like why there's an appetite, or, you know, people actually take it serious. Like, and again, that probably comes across harsh. I mean, I put it this way, right? Ollie Horgan's done a great job at Harps, right? We'll all admit that. He's been fantastic. If Ollie said decides at the end of the season, you know what, I want to get into GA coaching, and I'm going to do me badges, and you know, seriously, I'm going to start working with unions, or I want to manage into county, and say Declan Boner decides, you know, I'm not going to take Donegal next year. Would Donegal GA fans seriously consider Ollie Horgan as a serious candidate for the Donegal job? You know, I'm being serious. Like, would people? Of course they wouldn't. Like, and McGuinness an unbelievably impressive fella, and he's driven, and he had unbelievable sessions on the goal, and he definitely would add value to a backroom team in a professional sports environment, whether it be rugby or soccer. But for him to be a manager in his own right, he needs to go and be successful as a manager somewhere. Like, it kind of I think take Dundalk, or the Dundalk are probably the biggest club in Ireland. You know, in terms of the success of recent years.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't, and even like Austin said, coming in as a coach, but like, what's he done as a coach either? Like, he hasn't, you know, he's not the first team coach at a big club. He was a first team coach in some Beijing team in China. Yeah. So I don't know.
I think, you know, I think it would be, I think he has to maybe start. He's kind of, maybe for my money, he's trying to run before he can walk here. You know, where he's just maybe kind of that he's just going to go in at sort of the deep end almost. You know, we say, you know, you reference a couple of places that he's been, and you know, it seemed to be a lot of, you know, kind of junior stuff that he had done. You know, maybe at Celtic, and yes, you know, I don't know what he's done in China. You know, I haven't watched the games. I wasn't at the training sessions, that type of way. But surely you have to, if you want to coach men's football at the top level in any country, you have to start at the bottom, like almost like Ollie has done. You know, Ollie started obviously at Fanny United and coached successful in the country, learned about the players in the country, how to source these players in the country, how to get around the country and find the best players. You know, won domestically, gained respect in certain areas in that, you know, in that realm. And then I suppose that sort of makes your job easier then, you know, because you have a bit of, you know, experience, you have a bit great one from Bosch. Great graphic from Bosch. Good man, Bosch on the ball as usual. But like, for me, that's the only way that it can be done. I don't see how you can just
100%
go and do your badges. Yes, you have experience of being around loads of setups, but until you have been successful at a club, and again, men's football, you have to. Like, I'm sure there's loads of examples, but switching codes, having that, you know, do you have that credibility as a football manager? Like, you know, someone.
Credibility's massive. You're 100% right. Credibility's huge because,
for me, I don't think that he has that yet. You know, and the only way to do that is maybe to start at the bottom, to start at a lower rung than Dundalk, than the biggest, as you say, it is the biggest job in the country because of the success they've had, and because where they are at the minute. You know,
they had massive success in the 70s and 80s when Dermot Keeley was there as a player under Jim McLaughlin. That's they're a huge club. And like Shane Ward's making the comment here, would he not be worth a shot until the end of the season, see how it goes? Someone will take a chance on him. See, like, that's the problem. Like, it's kind of, people are blinded by the success he had with Donegal. There's that loyalty there. Like, he's an incredible GA manager, like, and he's a very, very impressive person. You listen to him on the Late Show. He's articulate, he's smart, he's driven. But like, why would he get the Dundalk job? Like, when there's so many other lads, as you say, working their way up, you know, taking jobs at intermediate level, taking jobs at first division clubs to get those big jobs. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand why. Like, let's take a chance on McGuinness because he won All Ireland with Donegal. Like, if you think about McGuinness when he got the job with Donegal, why did he get the job with Donegal? Because he had success with under 21s, and before that, he had success with Glenties. So he worked his way up. Like, he worked up his way at the coaching ladder. But I feel like there's a little bit like now that he's a household name in Ireland, and then all of a sudden, you know, I've been at Celtic, I was in China, I'm going to take a top job here in the League of Ireland. And I've said it before, it would inject huge interest in the League of Ireland because of how big a character he is, and he is a very I don't know, when he talks, you definitely do listen to him. He's got that presence and that aura about him. But you can only judge him on the evidence of what he's done. He managed one team, and it was in America, and you have to say he was out of step.
Well, I think the way that the approach taken by, again, I've never been in a GA dressing room. Generally the approach taken by that, then to try and bring that into a football dressing room, it's a totally different. It's night and day for me. And maybe Chief, you can share more light on that than me. Like, do you think, if he, could you imagine him going into the Dundalk dressing room and the likes of, Shields, Hooban, Fats, like they're going to look at things and say, what have you been doing? Like, where is your, like, what have you won? Like, because we're at a level, and we need the best manager in the country, but we need someone who has experience, who knows what they're talking about, who knows exactly what they're doing. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm not coming out and saying that Jim McGuinness doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he has all the knowledge there, but has he got the experience? And that's just what of working with that type of player in this league. Then I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think what you're asking me as well is maybe about compared to, we know when McGilton's chatting about crossovers, like there's crossovers are dealing with players, but in a professional environment, like say for example, Paddy McGrath there for Donegal. Paddy McGrath doesn't buy into the system that McGuinness wants him to play. He doesn't play. And he doesn't play inter-county football. Now, whereas if you up at Harps don't buy into Ollie's system, well, I'll go and play elsewhere. I'll go to Sligo, I'll go to Derry, I'll go somewhere else and play. That option's available to you. So when you're implementing a system and a style of play, with inter-county footballers, because they're amateurs and there's no transfer market and they can't leave, the players are going to say, well, we need to run behind this fella. Otherwise, I'm not going to play or I'm not going to be involved. Whereas if he's at Dundalk, say, for example, and Paddy McElhaney just says, I'm not having this fella. Like, what's he done in the game? Who's he managed? I'm not having him. Like, fair enough, McGuinness mightn't pick him, but he's your best player and he could end up leaving. That's the challenge you have when you're crossing over. It's not just a case of, and I think by the sounds of McGuinness and the way he managed, he certainly managed where he have control. And all managers like to have control. Ollie has control. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, when you're dealing with contracts, money, a free transfer market where your best players can go, all those different factors, he just doesn't have experience. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't have the experience of doing it, and that's why I can't get my head around how he'd be earmarked for the top job. And why not, as you say, go back and take if you're serious about managing and professional soccer, you got to start from the ground up, Chief. I think so 100%.
Frank Craig makes a good point there, Chief. It's Neve Connell. If you call them Glenties, they go mental apparently. So
well, I'll continue to call them fucking Glenties then.
Fucking Glenties as well.
Aye, absolutely. Many's a battle outside the limelight, Chief. Outside Nighthawks. Imagine Celtic giving Eddie Jones the manager's job because he was a top rugby manager. It is true, like, and without going over old ground, that's all I'm saying. I'm like, if Jim McGilton came out and said, I had a conversation with Jim McGuinness because he done brilliant in China, he was absolutely fantastic in America, and I like his ideas about football. He said there's a lot of crossovers to the GA, so he's justifying that the reason he's in contention for the job is because he did a great job at Donegal. Again, as I say, if McGuinness is serious, then he needs to try and move away completely from GA, even move away from role as a pundit and a columnist on it, and just immerse himself full on into it. And as Cowan said, work your way up. I don't know if there's any other comments.
Any jumping out on me. There's a few reference there about Dundalk will be destroyed end of the season. Shields and Hoopen for Linfield, Fats for Derry. Tony McNamee's coming with that one. Any others jumping out there, Chief?
Jared McLaughlin's came up there. He said he coached an underage team at Celtic, was assistant to Schmidt, a top-class European coach, and has a pretty much completed his pro license. Yes, the American thing was a disaster, but, and I'm not being contrary fucker here, I actually think the man would be a success in soccer. He didn't get that pro license because he was a GA manager. But
it seems to be
but sure, I could get a pro license. Like, I mean, a pro license is a license. I mean,
if you never get a pro license, the thing
We all have driving license. Doesn't mean we're good drivers.
No, look.
What do you mean? Right? You take McLaughlin's point because me and him have history, so I'm going to be
all right because he's at you here tonight. He's at.
He's at me. You dissect that. You dissect that point. There. Go on. He reckons now. Jerry McLaughlin. He's a big soccer man.
Yeah.
He's saying McGuinness will be a success because he has a pro license, I think, and that he worked under a top class coach.
Here, take you that hook out of your mouth. I'll answer this one to Jazzy here because you're all over it. Now, look, I think, look, let him be. We're not saying that Jim McGuinness can't be a soccer manager. But I'm saying, I think Chief is agreeing with me here. Not at Dundalk now. Go somewhere and be a successful soccer manager. Manage men at a lower level, and because I find like it's like what gives him. Where has he got his experience? Where has he got his success from? That he deserves the biggest job in the country. I think that's kind of what we're saying here, and I think that's yes, he's got his A license, but you say plenty of lads have a license. Like we.
McLaughlin's friend does one of them, doesn't he? Willie O'Connor.
Well, see, but yeah, you look at Willie O'Connor.
Oh, he's doing it right. Like he's gone to Shells, and now he's gone as assistant manager.
Why should Willie be taken for this job then? Why isn't Willie O'Connor's name not in the mix for the Dundalk job? So
that's what I mean. That's the kind of point I'm saying. These lads are making Willie O'Connor's working his way up the ladder. Different coaches are doing it. That's just kind of I'm taking offence. Not offence is the wrong word to use, but just that he would be earmarked. McGuinness has been earmarked for the biggest job in Irish football because of what he done with Donegal. If Jim McGuinness was a success, you can't write off the American thing either, Jazza, and be like so blasé about it. Like, the American thing was a disaster. That's the only job he had, and it was a disaster. Why would he say, look, forget about that American thing. That was a disaster. We'll come in Dundalk and everything's going to be better for you because it's. Yeah. Because it's in Ireland, you're dealing with Irish players, whatever. Like there's a multinational dressing room at Dundalk too. So he's, I don't know. Look, he could be a success, but as Cowan says, he needs to work his way up. You shouldn't be why should he be cherry picked the top job in Irish football just because he's Jim McGuinness and just because he was a brilliant GA manager for Donegal? Nonsense.
Yeah, I think
Brian Cody was a brilliant Kilkenny manager. Sure, will fucking give him the Shamrock Rovers job next season if he steps down.
Can you?
I'm gone. I'm gone.
Donegal did not want. This is not a GAA podcast, by the way, but we've invited the topic, so we sort of have to. I'm going to let you take this one as well, Chief. Donegal did not want Jim as manager, and he proved no one went wrong there. They've gone to the pot since. Right, so they should go back to Donegal then, is that what we're saying? Jim for Donegal.
I'm not
Dundalk.
Here. No. Look, without dissent, it's been a good conversation. I think there's been a lot of good points. He's not getting the Dundalk job. We all know that. Jared says Forks is a wee bit rattled tonight. I'm a wee bit rattled tonight. No, but it's just, again, as I say, even for him to be seriously considered for the Dundalk job or have a conversation with Jim Magilton, I think that's madness. I think if he is serious about being a soccer manager at a high level, he needs to do his time, work his way up like everybody else has. So he has that experience. Like he had it as a junior coach. Like he didn't just one day decide to be the Donegal manager and get the job. He had the success.
I think as well. The type of character Jim Magilton seems to be, he's probably invited this type of story, and it's creating a bit of talk. It's Dundalk as a talking point, which he would love, obviously, for his position. So yeah, look, no, I don't think we'll see Jim McGuinness at Dundalk, but look, there's no reason why Jim McGuinness can't manage in the top league of Ireland at some stage with the team. Maybe Dundalk in the future, who knows? But we'd like to see a bit of experience first, I suppose, before we give him the seal of approval, which he'll be looking for, no doubt.
100%. This is going to knock him for six when he gets word. When he gets word, he'll be devastated when he hears this. He'll be devastated.
The lads of the Silverware are raging at the fact that he could be entertained as the next Dundalk manager. He'll probably just pack it in. You say, well, that's me gone.
Well, if I didn't get the seal of approval from the two boys, that's me. I need to look. As I say, outstanding GA manager, and no doubt probably could be a top coach. But again, there's a massive difference between coaching and managing. There's been brilliant coaches that have then stepped up to take a manager's job, completely different responsibility. Anthony Gorman referenced that as well. Anthony Gorman talked about how he loved working as a coach because he didn't have to, he wasn't the ones leaving people out or negotiating contracts. He could work on developing players and improving them. That's what he liked. He didn't like being a manager. There's a completely different dynamic between the two as well. But look, we'll certainly hear more of McGuinness over the years, and he's a very impressive guy. So just I hope people don't think this was a Jim McGuinness bashing session. I just think people need to be a wee bit realistic and take the Donegal jersey off them at times as well when they're having a serious conversation about him being a professional manager. But that's the crack anyway. Ollie for the Donegal job.
Why not? If we're crossing over, why not? Now, look, I think what's they used to can be for black eyes when Jim meets you. I don't think Jim will be too bothered with us. I think that's something for sure. Not be taking our comments too seriously, as many don't anyway. So, no, look, I think we'll maybe leave it there, Chief, unless we have any more.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. Geez, we've covered a lot of ground again tonight. Hey, thanks a million for all the comments again. As I say, that's what makes it great crack, good bit of banter. And I've dived in, 2 feet a couple of times. Been taking the bait. Yeah, I'm disappointed with myself. I'm disappointed with myself for taking the bait, but sure, it's all about a cracking.
I see what Maria has listened to. That's tough going there, that bear.
She gave me a bad look. She gave me a bad look there about 3 minutes ago. I think we woke the baby up. So 20 to 1 in the morning here in Dubai. So what am I at? That's where I'm at.
You're cranky. Per Kelly.
Only a 6 hours sleep.
Again, look here. Thanks to everyone who got involved tonight. All the comments coming in, as we said, always makes the show. So that's great. You can obviously watch this again. Tell your mates about it. Watch it back on YouTube. We'll have it up there after on Facebook as well. Thanks for reminding me there, Bosch. After as well. Thanks to Nigel Hegarty and Finn Harps for some of the videos tonight that we used, angles of a couple of the contentious decisions that happened on Friday night. So thanks to them for that. And best of luck to Harps tomorrow night. Hopefully get back to winning ways. Okay. Obviously, we have the stuff on YouTube as well. Loads of Larry Silverware podcasts from way back when we started. Almost a year old now. Chief, we'll be looking at coming up on the first birthday that we started this rubbish. So great that's
I didn't think we'd make it past Christmas, but sure, we're still a year and we're chatting. It's a crack, eh?
I know, ignorance is the only thing. So no, look, we'll keep at it anyway, as long as you're still enjoying it. As I said, get on those podcasts that we have. They're up on SoundCloud as well. All alternative ways to listen, obviously Facebook and YouTube. So get on, subscribe on the page as usual. We'll try and get a watch along, maybe sometime next week. I finish up next week. I know the last couple of games coming up for us. So
you're finished up on Saturday, so hopefully we'll be able to get a few watch alongs, because I know the supporters aren't allowed in yet for another few months. So there's an opportunity for us to do some watch alongs. So hopefully we'll be able to do them in a couple of weeks as well.
People have been requesting and asking, when are we doing the next one, which is great as well. So hopefully we'll get a few of those over the next few weeks as well, and we can have a bit of crack with those and enjoy watching the games with you. But for us tonight, folks, that's ATS Live done. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and we'll chat these again soon. Okay, thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.